We have an object that we've loaded up with a Morph Blender effect to it and sliders, hooked to a duplicate of that object, which is acting as a morph target. Let's create a new one for the lower and upper lips. Let's right click on this one, let's copy it, and rename it to something else like PM upper lip, and copy that again and call this one PM lower lip. These are both duplicates, so they're the exact same mesh. And since I duplicated a cluster, these are clusters as well, and they'll show up inside the cluster slider here under the target as upper lip and lower lip. Let's crank those to positive here, go back into animate, set those to 1, and let's continue working. So let's go into setup. Let's create a new meta effector here. So instead of jaw ME, let's go to the tools, meta effector, add another effector to the scene. We'll call this one upper lip ME. Go to the wait list, let's check the PM underscore head as the active draw and add that effector field to the scene. This one's going to go right in the middle and set the X, Y, and Z radius to something like 0.1. Let's go to the front view or the back view. Set the X radius here so it's a bit wider. And here's our upper lip. Now let's create a new field and set this one to all connected, but invert that. Now set the X, Y, and Z radius to something pretty small, like 0.01. Go to a side view and put this over the lower jaw. That way we have masked out the upper lip. So there's upper lip ME. Let's also, on the upper lip, since we duplicated it, the pivot point stays here. So pick on the pivot, click on the pivot button, and translate that around until we're over the upper lips. Do the same thing for the lower lip. Click on the pivot. Let's move the pivot on the lower lip. And these numbers should be identical, so make sure to check to see if they're identical. So we have upper lip ME. Let's create another meta effector. Add a new one to the scene. Lower lip ME. Go to the wait list, make that one an active draw, and let's duplicate this effector. Let's copy that and just call this one lower lip, and parent that to lower lip ME down here, and look over, since we're in the tools tab, and you'll see which meta effector has which fields. And so lower lip parents into here, so now it's part of the lower lip, and it's in the same spot as the upper lip. So lower lip, we can do the same thing with this upper lip, but I'm just going to create a new effector. So this one to 0.01, all connected field of influence, and negative. Let's position this over the upper lip, so now we've isolated the lower lip. Go to the cluster slider, and for these next two weights here, set them to the upper lip and lower lip, and make sure we are set to combination so that it reads these weight values only from setup and not inside animate mode. So now if we go into animate, we've cranked these to full. We can close these meta effectors. So if we pick the lower lip and pitch them up and down, the lower lip works. And we can do all sorts of stuff with the lower lip as if it were just another cluster. And we can blend those back if we need to with the slider. So we didn't have to do that much work. Same thing goes with the upper lip. We can make the upper lip move. And we haven't used any other morph targets. We've just modified the one object that we have through the after transformation options inside of Morph Blender. So if we need to make any alterations to this character, which I'm sure we will in later lessons, we can, and all of these morph target duplicates will pick up the extra modifications. So let's go into setup, and we will set a setup keyframe for all items inside the Dope Master. Just hit the enter key a couple of times to create a key, and we're back to our default position. Let's go to File and save this scene as AtMorph2.